NASCAR returns to Talladega Superspeedway, and we've got best bets for one of the rowdiest weekends on the schedule. All this and more. It's a brand new episode of the Backroad coming right at you.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Check your flag. That's all this race
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Backroad. It's In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. My name's Elliot Hicks. With me is Seth Woolcock. And Seth, you mentioned it. It is one of the rowdiest weekends of the year. We're headed back to Talladega. We're rolling early tonight. We got the Busch Light Apple flowing. Man, I'm ready to party too.
Dude, Elliot, great to be back in the saddle. I feel like we haven't had a one-on-one night in a while, so great to be back with you on the eve of the NFL draft. I got a ton of units in play right now for me tonight, so could be a great weekend, could be a not so great weekend, but nonetheless a good weekend to kind of scale back the bankroll budget a little bit for Dega. I love this track. I love this weekend, but kind of got to take a shotgun approach to this thing. So a year ago, you and I, we were doing the show live in person in anticipation of Dover weekend, but still thrilled to be hanging with you nonetheless and the IBT family along the way. And Elliot, they're in here ready to go, man. We had Marcus in here this morning before noon. He already had one cracked and ready to go. Cush also in here right around 4:30, and Blaze Wolf checking in as well. I believe Rowdy's got a chance also like 23-11. So a lot of C Bell love and a little bit of Rowdy love out there in the streets this weekend, Elliot.
Yeah, and we got lots of love for the IBT family. Shout out for joining us a little early, hoping to get wrapped up by the time the picks get rolling in the draft. We'll look back in the rear view at Rockingham, the Xfinity and truck weekend there, give you a news update, break down Talladega and the Horizon forecast, and then go with the parking garage props for the Cup and Xfinity series this weekend at Talladega. And you can always hear more from us if you want to in the IBT Racing family. Just $3.99 a month, $36 for the year, less than $1 per race. Gives you access to that exclusive weekly betting model that we hope you've at least checked out, if not in the Discord at this point, into the weekly article that we put out, top 10 preview of the model. We explain how it works. We hope you're enjoying that. It certainly has proved fruitful. You also get to chat with all of us, myself, Seth, Ryan from My Fantasy Race, our best pal Rod Villagomez as well, and the rest of the fam. And you can also stream the audio version of this podcast now. Hopefully you guys are enjoying that. If you are, we're looking for reviews. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this. We're going to do some giveaways. I got some things that are going to be heading in the mail to Seth, the new IBT shipping department, for giveaways that, we want to give back to the family. We love doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, Elliot. Sending everything mine way right as I'm getting ready to move. Really appreciate that one. But nonetheless, yeah, we got a couple of things going on over here. Audio version, IBT Racing family. And easiest way to support us, if you don't want to listen to the audio version, if you don't want to join the IBT Racing family, just give this video a thumbs up. That's all we're asking. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Subscribe to the channel. We got NFL, college football, NASCAR, PGA, and entertainment betting right here on the channel and over at the website, inbetweenmedia.com. And shout out to our girl, Nicolette, our producer in the background as well. She was telling me last week, Elliot, that one of her friend's bachelorette trip ideas is Talladega. Like that's where we're going with this. Like that's how much people love getting rowdy down there in the great state of Alabama.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Talladega is certainly a bucket list trip. Definitely want to party on the boulevard down there. But in lieu of that, we get to party here on the back road, and we'll start by looking back at Rockingham in the rear view. So we did go back to the Rock this past weekend, just the Xfinity and the Truck Series. It was still a fun weekend, though. In the Truck Series, Tyler Ankrum finally back to victory lane. Man, I've been close on that. Both Rod and I have had bets on him, and he finally ends, I believe, the longest winless streak ever to be broken in the Truck Series.
Wow.
Won since 2019 and goes back to victory lane in 2025. And then in the Xfinity Series, some fuel mileage starts to come together. Jesse Love ends up getting the win on the day. but then disqualified a few hours later. Sammy Smith taking the win in that race. The appeal for RCR was denied.
Dude, this was one of those races where if you were just like throwing out long shots for Xfinity Series top 10s, I mean, you were cashing. Parker Retzlaff finished P2, Harrison Burton P3, Brennan Poole P4, Josh Williams in there, Jeb Burton, Daniel Dye once again, a little Dye tribe, and then Jeremy Clements as well. Like this was one of those races, tough to swallow, from a betting perspective. I guess this is kind of what we've come to expect at some of these shorter tracks in the Xfinity Series. Great to see The Rock back in action. I was 2-0 on Friday, feeling really good heading into the weekend, and then ended up betting on Carson Kvapil. We talked on that on the Thursday solo show, and he was ripping around. He was looking good, ended up getting in a scrap. And Kasey Kahne, my goodness, Elliot, Kasey Kahne. I will say I should not have faded Kasey Kahne, even though Kvapil was doing better than him most of the race. I mean, who would have thought Kasey Kahne unloading a freaking rocket, man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kasey Kahne definitely was super impressive. Unfortunate to see him and a lot of other drivers get caught up in incidents. It really got chaotic there a little bit in the beginning, but then toward the end of that race too, with it was Eckes and somebody else. It was Sieg, I think, trying to stretch the field just way too long, and it didn't really end well for either of those guys.
Yeah, it certainly did not. And shout out to Williams Sawalich, looking like a pretty good day for him so far. That was one of my long shot top 10 bets. And he's been good at Dover and ARCA in the past. He was racing the ARCA race last weekend as well. So I took a little shot on him and was looking good, qualified up high, was running top 5, and then got involved with Catherine Legg a little bit. So definitely kind of a fuckery filled weekend, but shout to both the winners. Sammy Smith ends up getting back into victory lane after Jesse Love gets ones kind of stolen from them. How do you feel about that, Elliot? How do you feel about just like the post race, like stolen wins? Like we've seen it twice already this season. It just feels dirty. I feel dirty every time I see it.
Yeah, I mean there'll be a feeling of pretty dirty feelings on post race inspections for me personally for quite some time.
Yeah. Oh, yo.
Last year,
but Joe, that led to your Joey Logano huge future cash, though. To be fair,
so at least my pain and sorrow led to a payoff for Logano there. But hey, it's one of those things that if there's an egregious violation of the rules, they're going to DQ a guy. I know it's awkward to have all the celebrations and stuff like that and then have it ripped away, but if you break the rules, you break the rules.
Yeah, true. Very, very true. Nick in the chat saying, what's up, Nick? Good to see you. I appreciate everyone tuning in early. Again, sorry we kind of went a little early. I got some draft stuff going on later tonight and just kind of need to be in the mix and on Slack. So I figured we'd kind of bang this out of the way and get through it. And anything else from Rockingham, Elliot? Like, I think the crowd was good. I think it's definitely something we should continue to go back to, at least for these double series weekends here.
Yeah, as the facility continues to be updated, I think it could be in play for a cup date. No need to apologize for rolling a little early. We appreciate the fam that's here, but you can catch up both video and audio. So shout out to everybody who is listening later. Logano ticket. I had a championship ticket from the summer that I had I forget if it was bonus bets or whatnot, but won a pretty fair share.
What was it, 16-1? Is that what you had? 16
I think it was 16-1. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of what the number was. It was somewhere in that range. That definitely was a fun little payoff at the end of the year. That's for sure.
Yeah. Shout out to Racing Wrestling Fan 36. That's a good name, brother. That's a good name. We appreciate you hanging out this tonight, man.
Hope you enjoyed WrestleMania. Was that last weekend, right? I'm not a big wrestling guy.
Yes, it was. Come on, Ellie. We had a stream right here on the channel. Popcorn Root Beer, brother.
Unfortunately, I missed it. I was, I wasn't on the show last week, so I had other things going on with work. And I took the week off of betting too. The Bristol race did not go well for me, so I decided.
That's all right.
Series is off. I am off the show. I'm gonna take the week, sit back down. But now we're hopping back into Talladega. Before we get there, though, we got some news that's dropped. And the big news is that Rodney Childers is out at Spire Motorsports. A parting of ways there. He had came on board to crew chief the number 7, which ended up being driven by Justin Haley. And safe to say it didn't work out because we're not even to the end of April, and this partnership is already over. This is a shocker.
I first thought when I saw this, I was getting trolled by one of those accounts. You know what I mean? There's a couple of those accounts going out right now. They've got me a couple times this season, and I was like, oh man, is this one of those moments? No, this is very much real. And like you said, Ellie, kind of just surprising, really, at the end of the day. Like, Rodney Childers, I think we were both very excited to see him work with Justin Haley, who had a very promising start to 2024 in that Rick Ware racing equipment, comes to Spire. And, like, it hasn't been a bad season by any means. They do only have one top 10. They're in 23rd in points, but, I think with you and Rod and I were all doing our top 25 preseason rankings, despite us really liking Rodney Childers, the Spire program in general, and Justin Haley as a driver himself, I don't think any of us had him inside our top 25. So, like, he's kind of right in line with expectations. So I was a little surprised by the move. Do you think it was more of a Rodney Childers, I want to step away type thing? Or do you think it was more of a, hey, like, this just isn't working out from a Spire perspective? We know they have a lot of money from Gamebridge there in the mix.
Yeah, I think it was just one of those mutual deals. I think that Rodney Childers is an old school guy who maybe hasn't acclimated as well to the next gen stuff. I think I've heard a quote from him that says, his toolbox is kind of taken away. His sandbox isn't as big as it used to be for him to play around and get the advantages that you need as a crew chief. So an old school guy meshing with a new school kind of race team Inspire, I just assumed that it probably didn't work out, and they figured that parting ways was probably best. I feel like Rodney, he mentioned he kind of wanted to retire with Harvick after, what was that, 2 years ago. Stuck with Josh Berry, probably enjoyed that, but maybe there's part of him that kind of wishes, maybe it was the right decision to step back. And as far as we know, he is stepping back, at least for the time being, from NASCAR in general.
Yeah, man. Rodney, take care of yourself, dude, because, like, this is truly one of the most dominant crew chiefs we've seen in a long time. And, like, I think sometimes, Elliot, probably me and you, honestly, I don't want to say we overhype him, but, like, in this next gen era, we absolutely do. Like, he only has, I think, since 2020, four Cup Series wins, maybe two, actually. I think he has 2 wins and both with Harvick in that span. So I don't know. It's just tough, man. It's a tough look here, and hopefully Spire can continue to get it done. But, like, from a gambling perspective, I don't think I bet Justin Haley all season. I've been waiting to kind of get there. I don't know if I'm gonna be getting there, dude.
No, in terms of his replacement on the box, Ryan Sparks, who had previously been a crew chief, was the competition director or something, promoted to crew chief or promoted from crew chief. He'll be stepping back onto the box. And like I said, I don't think this is it for Rodney. But if it is, though, hell of a career. All the wins with Harvick, his humble beginnings with guys like Scott Riggs and David Rudiman, moving up the ladder to, that great 2020 season, especially that Harvick had, where he won was it 8 or 9 races that year, and heartbreaker to get eliminated in the round of 8 that year.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, 4 championship 4s on resume too. So this guy's decorated, and whatever happens here, I don't know if I'm sure we'll get some reports eventually. Kind of the dirty of it end of it, but yeah, hopefully Rodney can take care. Inspire can continue to work its way up here, and definitely seen some thoughts in the chat about it as well. And so we'll definitely keep an eye on this situation moving forward. Some more news in the headlines this week, though, Elliot.
Yeah, speaking of the championship 4, I don't think it's been officially put out there, but it's been put out there by Jordan Bianchi and Dale Earnhardt Jr., who there aren't 2 better sources in the game, that Homestead is going to host the 2026 championship weekend, and it'll start a rotation that they believe Phoenix will be a part of. Homestead obviously will be a part of. Hypothesis, maybe something like Las Vegas, people have said could be a part of that. And I like that it's gone back to Homestead. So many great memories there for so many years. But I especially love that it's going to rotate, because we've kind of pigeonholed ourselves into a situation where the champion is whoever's best at Phoenix, which has been Penske the last 3 years.
Yep.
If the championship rotates, you're going to have to not only get lucky enough to make the championship 4, but get lucky enough that it's at the particular track that you want it to be at that year, and not one that you're not as prepared for. If we're gonna throw everything in the randomizer, in that case, to have the super playoff atmosphere that we do, I also like that the final track is now going to be different yearly. It sounds like.
Yeah, man. I mean, how many times have we seen it? It's just lately, it at least feels like Team Penske just has an absolute bead on that fall Phoenix race, right? Like, where they're just going out, they're dominating the field. So, hey, let's mix it up. If Team Penske continue to do that late in the season, if we can get a Blaney or another, maybe it's an even year Logano run or something like that in 2026, I'd be certainly thrilled to see it happen at Homestead. And I think the interesting thing about this, Elliot, is this opens us up to much more possibilities, I think, as well, like you said, because we've known that the city of Phoenix has paid X amount of money to host this race. And now this means, like, to get that away from Phoenix, Homestead had to pay X amount, whatever this is, right? And So I think if people continue to open up their wallets, we could see the championship race at some really good venues. Like, could you imagine it at Kansas? My goodness, would it be fun? Like, there's some really, really awesome speedways we could head to. And Homestead's a classic one, as you said. So really excited to see it back there as early as 2026 here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more that it'll be fun to see it go to different places. And you're right, maybe tracks pony up some money and, maybe get a little
Pocono.
We both were on the same wavelength there. I appreciate that. That wouldn't happen there, an independent track. It's going to stay at a NASCAR owned facility.
Let's just see like Josh Shapiro and the boys. Hey, we're gonna give all the tax dollars, baby. Let's get it up here. And oh man, I think you and I could both say they don't have the accommodations for that up there in Long Pond.
Yep, yeah, the Great American Championship 400. Let's do it. But instead of Great American Championship 400, let's go ahead and crack open what's going to be the Jack Links 500 and take a look at this week's Horizon forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
All right, so we do head to Talladega this weekend. We got the Cup and Xfinity Series and ARCA. I threw that in the schedule too, just for funsies. The entry list, 36 charters, as always. Then the open cars are the 44 at JJ Yaley, 62 Anthony Alfredo for your favorite Beard Motorsports, and the 78 at BJ McLeod, fan favorite, back in there. Before we close the entry list and get to the schedule, this seems like a missed opportunity for Corey LaJoie in his limited schedule. Why the fuck did he run Bristol and he's not at Talladega? It's very confusing to me. It seems like a big-time missed opportunity.
Yeah, I don't want to take the shot that everyone's been taking, but, if you're going to use your kids' college money, you might as well use it at tracks you actually have a shot to win at, brother. So, yeah. Tough look. That 19 truck looking pretty good for Danny Hemrick down there, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, so this weekend starts on Friday. You'll have ARCA practice at 4, and at 5:30 on the CW app, you got Xfinity qualifying.
Yep.
Cup and Xfinity not going to practice this weekend. You get to Saturday. Cup qualifying is at 10:30 a.m. on Prime. You got the ARCA race if you're so inclined at 12:30 on FS1, the General Tire 200. They just run 76 laps. And those ARCA races at the super speedways, they can be shit shows, but that may almost make some fun to tune into. Everyone's favorite boy, Cletus McFarland, back in the race as well for ARCA. And then the Xfinity race at 4 o'clock on the CW, the Ag Pro 300, stage lengths 25, 25, and 63 there. Then on Sunday, 3 p.m. on Fox, Big Fox, not FS1, which is always nice. The Cup race, the Jack Links 500, 60, 60, and 68. Jack Links is fun with the John Hunter Nemechek sponsorship this weekend with the Sasquatch riding along. This race,
great logo.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The plaid scheme and everything. In my heart, though, this race is still the Aaron's 499. That's how it was when we were growing up. Iconic.
Yeah, certainly. And I'm very excited for this weekend, and specifically, like you kind of brought it up, like these ARCA races are kind of something fun if you're just kind of dicking around the garage or the house, early on Saturday afternoon. Fun to throw that on, and excited to see that. And then Xfinity, I'm ready to go for that as well. So going to be a full weekend here, and nice to kind of get a little Friday that we can keep our focus on the NFL draft, because that's where mine's going to certainly be as our Steelers continue to rebuild in that third round.
Yeah, and Saturday's always easier to double screen because things move so fast. It's still an event on Friday night as it is Thursday.
Yeah.
In terms of comps, 2.66 mile tri-oval, big super speedway out in Alabama. It is wider than the other super speedways that we go to, and a little bit longer as well. So that means it's not necessarily a primary comp, but of course Daytona and Atlanta, they race similarly enough that all the super speedway style tracks just get kind of grouped in with each other.
Yeah, it's super interesting because like more than Daytona and Atlanta, like I'm definitely factoring in just heavier, you had to weigh a little bit heavier, just Talladega results, right? But at the same time, we at least have 2 super speedways we've been to this season. I expect it to play out very similar with who's fast. Like, those Penske boys are going to be fast. They're probably who are going to be some of the best off the truck, I would say, this weekend. And I think the other thing with kind of just like the schedule and the setup too, like I would not be shocked if we have a couple people go out there in practice, or since there is no practice in qualifying, like maybe struggle, right? Like how many people at Daytona earlier this season, it was like, oh, thank God we had this extra practice or these extra runs to get going. So, wouldn't it be concerned if someone had a bad qualifying effort? Just like keep that in mind, and we'll kind of talk about that in the trends. But kind of wide open for whoever can win this fucker still.
Yeah, and that's how it always is at Talladega. Like I said, the randomness of it all. There is certainly a skill to it, but there's certainly plenty of randomness to it all that we'll kind of allude to later.
Yeah.
Of course, Talladega is its own beast. I probably did weigh Daytona more than Atlanta, and probably weighed Daytona very closely with Talladega. Atlanta, of course, smaller races similar to Daytona. In my mind, Daytona and Talladega are certainly similar enough that, especially the Daytona 500, like average running position and results.
Oh,
and all
yeah.
the things that go in our model are definitely things that I would weigh heavily as well.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I'm certainly factoring them in, but just a little like I do group Daytona and Atlanta a little bit more together now, just because they are a little bit, that the skinnier one. When like Talladega, man, you can get four lanes just moving there.
We saw it last fall with the whole fuel mileage. Everyone kind of ride around 4 wide, 12 cars deep all the way. Everybody's just in the same giant pack there, and I have no idea how they didn't crash when they were doing that toward the end of one of the stages. Maybe this year that'll be different, cause more chaos early.
Certainly. Looking at some of the trends here, Elliot, starting with qualifying, Austin Cindric is 6th all-time in average Talladega starting position, 10.2. As far as next-gen polls here, we actually had McNasty, Michael McDowell, sweep the polls last year in 2024, and Christopher Bell, funny enough, swept the polls in 2022. Denny Hamlin also has a poll in 2023 as well. Looking at the race itself, we have 6 current next-gen Dega winners. So no driver or team has won one more than once here in that span. Ryan Blaney has a win. Ricky Stenhouse has a win. Kyle Busch has a win. Chase Elliott has a win. Tyler Reddick has a win. Ross Chastain has a win. So, kind of the guys I would say suspect up at the front of the field when it comes to super speedway racing. We have had 2 first-time winners here in the past 10 years. Ricky Stenhouse back in 2017 to spring, Bubba Wallace then in that rain delay race in fall of 2021 as well. So if you're going to bet someone to win their first race, like we know it from Harrison Burton last year at Daytona, Ellie, like this is the place to do it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And in terms of those guys we haven't had any repeat winner in the next gen, you look at those 6 names, was any of them the leader on the last lap or with 5 laps to go or something like that? The chaos certainly shows. Even
they
at the
didn't
very
lead
end
a lot of laps. They did not lead a lot of laps.
Like I think, especially Reddick in the spring last year, that was McDowell and Keselowski, and it didn't work out so well for them at the end. And that Jordan number 45 gets there. And in terms of qualifying, I was really looking at the front row cars because last year we saw McDowell and Gilliland do so well. I mean, they swept the front row. I think at most of the super speedways, McDowell pulled every super speedway but the Daytona 500. We haven't seen that this year from the more inexperienced front row motorsports. Those pole bets for guys like Gregson Smith and Gilliland were kind of tempting, but I didn't lay any coin down on them. The qualifying has not been quite the same as it was last year, where they did have everyone's number and pulled every damn race.
I feel like you got to bet Penske or like maybe take a shot on JGR guy, hoping someone has a similar setup to what Chase Briscoe had at Daytona, right?
That got him a massive penalty that thankfully was rescinded a couple.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like
too closely.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel you there, but like I'm betting Penske or I'm gonna take a shot at a JGR guy if I'm gonna do a pull bet. Like Austin Cindric has, we'll talk about it later. But Austin Cindric has crazy stats here. I wish you could bet polls in the Xfinity series. I don't care if it's minus like freaking 195. I would still bet RCR to sweep the polls. I don't care. But talking of qualifying, Elliot, looking at the next gen winners this is crazy. 0% of the winners in the next gen era have come from the front row at Talladega. Top 5, 0%. Top 10, 16.7%. Just one of these winners, one of these 6 winners in the next gen era have come from the top 10. Outside the top 10, 83.3%. By far the highest amount we've seen this season. We've never seen anything over 50, even at Atlanta, even at tracks like Daytona as well. The furthest back was Ricky Stenhouse and 32nd of last fall. But at the same time, most of these guys are coming back from 15 plus, all of them. Other than I think Ryan Blaney won it from inside the top 10. So Elliot, this really proves like anyone can win this race. Saturday doesn't freaking matter. Like, the whole race doesn't matter, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's kind of finishing my point that I was making earlier, that if you're running up front all race, great. If you're winning the stages, great. You got to stay out of that mess with 10, 5, 3, 2 to go, or even the white flag sometimes, because you can be running up front, lead all the damn laps. You get involved in your mess or somebody else's mess at the white flag, your finishing position is
Austin
completely
Cindric,
tough.
baby. Austin Cindric,
Yeah,
both for Daytona 500 and Atlanta. And
yep.
both these
Last-
races, too.
Last fall, he was the unfortunate starter of what was the biggest crash in the history of the Cup Series that 28 cars were involved in, and took him out from after he ran up front all day.
Yeah. Elliot, what do you say we round out this segment with a little asterisk mark drive of the week?
Yeah, and there's good lord, you could name 50 asterisk drivers from the next gen, 55. Just so many people that they ran well and they got involved. This one though, not necessarily a crash. I picked Kyle Busch this week as the asterisk mark driver of the week from the iFantasy race selection. Of course, Ryan does a great job over there. Last fall, the 8 car finished 19th, but that's a pretty easy result to discard and disregard. He didn't crash out, like I said. He decided to race on the last lap. He tried to move up, I think, into the third lane on the outside, and nobody went with him. They all were content to ride in their lines and not jump out, risking falling back. So the 8 car fell all the way back like a rock because nobody helped him all the way down the sucker hole, as Darrell Waltrip used to say, on the outside. In the race, he ran up front for most of the race, finished third in stage 2, was running P5 on that last lap when he pulled out a line, trying to make a move, trying to get a win, trying to continue that streak that ended of consecutive years winning last year. Nobody went with him. And this is a point that Kyle Busch has been trying to make for years, that if you go with them and if you do something different than what the leader is doing. Larry McReynolds, one of his great sayings was, if you follow the leader, you're going to follow the leader. You're not going to be able to get out there. If you go with that 8 car and Kyle Busch, a guy who knows what he's doing, a guy who's won these super speedway races, you might have a shot to get up there with him. And then if it's just you two coming down the tri over there, anything can happen. But nobody went with the 8 last year. So asterisk mark 19th for the 8 car.
I love that you brought up Kyle Busch, and it's so funny that he's become almost like this trusted guy. Like, I don't think there's anyone you really want to have on your bumper or to be pushing more than Kyle Busch these days. And like, could you imagine, especially you as a Dale Jr. fan, us saying, like, if we had this show 10 plus years ago, like, we would not be saying the same thing. But
Nope.
Kyle Busch is someone you certainly have to look at. His outright number a little suppressed. I don't love that, but he did come number 3 in the projections this week, 80% B- score. And we only had 3 drivers above an 80% this week. Again, kind of showing the disparity here and that really anyone can win. But Kyle Busch, certainly a guy worth a look if he can get some help out there. It does feel like he does, for whatever reason, sometimes get left on his own. I don't know if that's, these kids grew up watching him and or just, RCR is a smaller team and you're just not up there with the boys. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think it's just that these kids, there are a lot of them, and I guess you can include some of the veterans in there too. I'm not just trying to be, those damn kids. I'm not trying to be that guy. But
Damn
Dale
kids.
Get
off my lawn.
Whenever somebody asks Dale Jr. for advice, won a million super speedway races, he says, take every run. Get yourself to the front, stay at the front. Laying back the whole time is not going to work, and drivers are doing that less and less. Even in terms of the fuel mileage stuff, you don't see those packs 15 seconds behind, just sitting there trying to stay out of trouble. And guys just don't take every run. I feel like almost every year watching the Xfinity and the truck races, the finishes end up more anticlimactic than they should be, because I feel like guys are scared to go and take those runs. That's how you win the race, is you go and you move out of the way and you risk that second place to maybe finish 15th, or you risk that 5th place to finish 19th, but that's your shot to win. In the Cup Series now, unfortunately, we are seeing more of that, like it was in the Xfinity and the trucks on occasion, where if you don't go and try to make the pass for the win, you're not going to win the race. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, but the blocking's also excessive sometimes. Like,
that's the other thing too. Is I'm sure obviously a lot of these drivers are fearless to a point, but I'm sure there's something in them that is like, well, if I pull out and make this move, somebody's going to throw a giant block. We are both going to hit this wall really hard and tear up a lot of cars.
Yeah. No, that's part of it. That's part of the handicapping. And what do you say, Ellie? We get to the bets here.
Yeah, let's go ahead and crack open them books in the parking garage props.
Let's do it.
So in terms of the impressions of the books this week, I agree with you. I wish we could bet on just about anything and everything. And of course, the numbers are going to be way chalkier because of Super Speedway. Things like matchups and even groups, you can hardly bet them because everybody's just even. Almost every matchup I saw was this guy or this guy minus 115 or minus 115. It's just not. It's not interesting to bet. It's the same thing as if I stood here and flipped a coin. I'm not going to put money on whether it's heads or tails.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I found a bunch of matchups that had big disparity in our projections, right? Like guys who were projected top 5 against drivers who were down, 19th, 20th in our projections. But at minus 115, you're still you're still giving the house the edge there, right?
Yeah.
And like I experienced it earlier this year at Atlanta, where I was riding Austin Cindric in a head-to-head against Denny. Denny was nowhere close all day. Austin Cindric just lapping the field, it felt like, in terms of speed. And he just gets wrecked at the end and it doesn't come through. So you really have to be like, you have to pick and choose here. You have to shotgun approach it. Like, let us know how you guys are betting this too. We want to hear from you. I will pull up a couple comments here because I am seeing some good thoughts in here. But like here from Aguirre, like Elliot, he's saying like sprinkled about 10 outrights. Don't know if I'm gonna regret this or not. Like if you're sprinkling, man, like that's kind of the strategy here for me. Like I have way more plus money in my card tonight, as you could probably see, Elliot. Like me, I'm always on the juice. I think I have maybe 2 bets this whole weekend that are minus money. Like you have to pull the trigger. You have to take long shots if you're betting this weekend. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and that's part of the perk of super speedway betting, though, is those outrights are not as juicy as they normally are.
Yeah,
and you can get some good numbers. When the lowest outright, I've got the Action Network odds accumulator up next to me here. Ryan Blaney is at 10-1 at the lowest odds. Normally, your lowest odds for a week, if it's Larson at Bristol or something, or someone at a dominant track, that can be as low as like a plus 375 for an outright. So you get the odds are a little longer, but of course it is way harder to win. But little sprinkles on a few guys, probably the way to go here. In terms of the stats, though, we've been teasing this guy all night. We are squad riding the Austin Cindric outright as our favorite this week. Best number out there, 16-1 on DraftKings. I'll let you take the model stats, but for me, for Cindric, it's a blend of being great on super speedways and needing a win. Of course, led 59 laps at Daytona, finished 8th, led 47 at Atlanta before Larson pulls a dipshit move. They both crash.
Thank you.
Christopher Bell win. 8 super speedway top 10s for his career, and he's run up front consistently at these super speedways. He's led at least 15 laps in each of the last 3 races at Talladega and has led at least 10 laps, which I feel like 10 laps, it may not seem like a lot, but that is a consistent enough amount of time out front. He has led 10 laps or more in every super speedway race except for last summer at Daytona, in all the super speedway races dating back to summer Atlanta of 2023.
Wow.
So that is a big enough sample size. And even though, like I said, 10 laps doesn't seem like much, it's enough time to show Austin Cindric knows how to run up front here. And of course, the 2022 Daytona 500 winner, I feel like he's got to have that second super speedway win coming, at least if we think of it logically and remove the chaos factor.
If you're betting super speedways, you have to be betting Austin Cindric, Adam. Like we're at that point. He was number 1 in our projections. And that's not because his Dega stats are insane by any means. It's because he truly has become, in my opinion, like the best super speedway racer in the next gen car. This kid has something for it. We've seen it since he entered the Cup Series, man. Number 1 in average running position in both this year's Daytona 500, 5.7, and Atlanta, 5.0. Those are really good numbers for a super speedway, man.
Oh, yeah.
And then at Dega specifically, last season, number 2 in average running position last spring, 10.9. Number 1 in the fall, 6.1. Like, dude's going to be up front all damn day. It's just, can he finish? Can he get the finish? And that's why I would love to ladder him up, but the odds just aren't like the books know he's good. And like the only place I found any sort of value was 16-1 at DraftKings. He's like 12, 14 other places. So I'm just taking the outright. We're hoping he wins it, but I love Austin Cindric this weekend. I'll have him in fantasy once again. He's the squad ride this week. Let's go, baby.
Yep. Yeah. Cindric is low as 13-1. BetRivers, BetMGM, I believe, have him that low, 16-1 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Feels generous. And I have the odds pulled up because something we're going to do tonight. This was an idea from the Discord that somebody showed out. And Rod has done this before on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast by a wheel. But I've got every number in my nice little Ally Chicago race win hat. And I'm going to pick and make a case for a random driver in the field for an outright, a top 5, and a top 10. So as we shuffle here, let's make a case for our random outright of the evening. Hopefully not pull a guy who we already are betting on. Oh, I'm starting real tough, Seth. I'm starting real tough. Ty Dillon, number 10. For the random outright. We got to scroll all the way down here in this Action Network odds here. Way down. Best odds you can get him at plus 10,000 on Caesars. BetMGM plus 60-1, 85-1. DraftKings 35-1. So this is 100-1, very generous number here on Ty Dillon. hey man, Colleague has looked kind of decent this year at times. For Ty Dillon, arguably kind of deserves this Cup seat, which I never thought I would say. Allmendinger
Isn't it
also pretty
weird
good.
how he's better driving a Cup car than any other series? It makes no sense, dude. He is
Yeah,
terrible in the trucks.
and he gets it done here. And a part of it, I'm not going to shit on Ty Dillon because I have to convince you to bet him for an outright at big numbers. The next gen car is less about driver skill, I feel like, in a lot of ways, and that really helps Ty Dillon. And like I said, Ty Norris was the guy brought in over at Colleague. He has helped teams grow a little bit. They get more RCR support because it's Pop's grandson that's in there. The model doesn't look good. 36 out of 39 drivers, Ty Dillon. Usually doesn't get the good finishes there, but he's going to be in that main Chevy pack. He ran well in the Daytona duels, I believe, and was respectable enough in the 500, if I recall correctly. So, hey, if you want a big-time long shot, Ty Dillon, number 10, baby. Let's roll with it.
11th in the Talladega Next Gen Total Speed Rankings coming from myfantasyrace.com. And yeah, I don't hate Ty Dillon, man. He would occasionally pop up at these super speedways back in the day. I remember we would play in our fantasy league that we would run through Excel there. I'd be like, oh, Ty Dillon, like random stage win. Here we go. Aguirre in the chat saying he has Ty Dillon for a top 5. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Donald, he's like in the 8 and the 12. Yeah. Those are the chalk picks, brother. But we're with you there. I don't know if there's a ton of value on them, but definitely to win. Steve tuning in as well. What's up, Steve? Good to see you, buddy, over there on the Popcorn Root Beer channel. Nick saying Brad, shouting out Brad Keselowski. I think just some of the bad luck Brad Keselowski's had over the years here at Talladega. 6 wins for Brad. So I honestly don't hate Ty Dillon, dude. Like I was actually considering him. I was looking at my fantasy NASCAR lineup over there on Fantrax this week, and I was like, Ty Dillon's not a bad rip. So I think you could do worse.
So I would have preferred maybe pulling him for a top 5 or top 10 and not pulling him out for the outright. But hey, go big or go home, right? This is Talladega. This isn't, this is Dallas. This is freaking Talladega. We got a few more outrights before we get into some placement props and stuff like that. And start with the noggin boss there, William Byron.
Yeah, William Byron, 16-1 at FanDuel. I'm going half a unit on this. I went half a unit on Austin Cindric as well. I think William Byron with 3 next-gen super speedway wins tucked in this guy's back pocket or potentially up in his extremely large hat. This guy should be the favorite in my opinion, man. Number 2 in our projections this week. Number 1 in the Talladega next-gen average finish. 7.7 average finish in these last 6 Dega races. The only other driver that's close to him is way back. Like he's the only one in single digits, 7.7. So 8th in the total speed rankings in that span as well, which don't matter as much at super speedways, but still he was number 3 in the Daytona 500 average running position when he got his back-to-back victory there, and then number 4 at Atlanta. So this guy's a top 5 guy at super speedways now, one of the best, always seems to have that fortunate luck. Like, if he was on the inside and Cody Ware was on the outside, Cody Ware wins the Daytona 500. Like this guy seems to just put himself in a spot. So another guy that I just kind of feel pigeonholed into kind of betting at super speedways if I'm betting outrights, and 16-1 is a great number, Elliot, because like he's 12-1 at some other books. So I'm really digging a 16-1 here on Byron. Feels like a good number again.
Yeah, it is a good number, and you can make the argument he backed into 2 Daytona 500 wins in a row. But that's how you do it on the super speedways. You put yourself in the right place.
But he's running top 5 too.
The yellows fall at the right time. You're in the right position. Yeah, he's running well. Talladega, the one track where he doesn't have a next-gen super speedway win and has the best average finish there. The Atlanta race, I think he won Atlanta 2022 in the summer, and I don't really remember much about that race, whether he earned it or whether he backed into it like the Daytona ones. But it doesn't matter how you win them at places like Talladega. You just got to survive to the end, and he's done that at Daytona and in Atlanta. So, hey, at a 16-1 for Byron, you're not really getting that at most tracks.
I think with both Byron and Cindric, why I'm betting them now too is like I don't think we see this number after Saturday. I think Cindric's on the front row. I think he's probably down to 12 or an 11. I think Byron will probably qualify top 5, top 8, probably one of the faster Hendrick cars off the truck too. And I don't think you're finding a 16-1, especially at FanDuel. So might even have a cash out opportunity, which I could take and just get right back reinvested because got to take wins where you can get them at these super speedways, brother. Over to you with your next outright though, taking to the Toyota camp.
Yeah, go ahead and cash out and put it on Ty Dillon when you do that. But yeah, we talked about Ford, talked about Chevy. Now we'll both talk about Toyota. For me, it's Bubba Wallace. No word on whether Ronald McDonald will join him in victory lane if he wins there, but at 20-1 over on BetMGM, the best number I found.
Ronald McDonald scares me. I've never been like
That's
a big, not a great mascot, right?
So they've really phased him out of the marketing. He showed up in like the 80s when clowns were a fun thing that kids would enjoy. And now clowns are, horror movie and people stabbing people in the street. So Ronald McDonald's not really in it as much as he used to be, but still recent enough to get a picture there.
I like the Hamburglar. I like those characters. Those are better characters.
Give me some Grimace all day long.
Yes.
Give me some Grimace. And Bubba's driven the Grimace car a couple times before. So we know he's got other chances to win this year. He had cooled off the last couple of weeks before the break, but had a couple really good runs there. We know he's got speed, but we know that super speedways are a big time skill for Bubba. Dega is his most boom or bust super speedway. He has that win and was top 10 last fall, but other than that, no top 10s at Talladega. At Atlanta in the next gen, he has 2 top 10s. Daytona, his best super speedway, 5 top 5s and 6 top 10s. Of course, I'm equating Daytona and Talladega to be a little closer than I think you are. And like I said, even though the last couple of weeks were not so good, those were more short tracks, really difficult tracks for Bubba Wallace. A track that he's used to, kind of like he was the couple of weeks before when he was ripping off some good finishes. And especially with Talladega, it's put yourself in the right place at the right time. We've seen Bubba come so damn close the last couple of years here in the next gen. No reason he can't get back to victory lane at the full distance this time, too.
Yeah, but Bubba, man, he's someone, I was heavy on him at the 500. He ended up cashing a nice ticket for us to lead a lap there. And so I'm certainly on board with Bubba so much that I'm going with the Toyota outright plus 370 at FanDuel for half a unit. And look, this is like purely a numbers play really for me, Elliot. Like, I know you like to play those outrights when they get too high. I usually don't as much, but like this is just a pure discrepancy because Toyota everywhere else is like plus 250, plus 270. So for FanDuel to have it plus 370, you got to go down on it. Like they're due, man. They have just one next gen win at super speedways. That was Tyler Reddick. And despite that, though, they have some really good super speedway racers. You already mentioned Bubba, who is 7th in the projections. Reddick is 10th. And like say what you want about Denny Hamlin. He is super low in our projections, but still knows how to run it at super speedways as well. So Ty Gibbs has had some, not good finishes at Talladega, but he's had some good runs as a result in good finishes. Chase Briscoe, bad fast off the truck at Daytona as well. So I just feel like there's a lot. Chris Bell, we didn't even say Chris Bell, our guy Marcus's pick early, as well as Cush. They're on Bell to win as well. So I just think there's a lot of outs for Toyota at plus 370. I'm there, man. I'm there this week. It just feels like a nice hedge. Like if my Cindric or my Byron don't come home, maybe I can just find a little bit of profit here in Toyota.
Yeah, and I think this could be a good strategy. I definitely considered it as well. Like I said, whenever you have the manufacturer disparity, I'm looking at it, and they do have fewer cars, and that's why they're always the long shot. This is a big-time manufacturer game, and they have fewer cars. But they don't have shitty cars in the same way that Chevrolet and Ford do. There's no Cody Wares in Toyota.
Yeah.
There's no BJ McLeods or JJ Yaley's like there are at Chevrolet for Toyota. It just really has to work out perfectly for them, and it's difficult to do. If they get separated, there's a lower amount of cars, which makes them slower. If you mess up the strategy, you can, have Erik Jones fracture a vertebrae when you can't manage that line as well as you can, and having to run perfectly because you have fewer cars and you have to run faster. So it's tougher, but you're right, man. I do think they are due, and they have the guys to do it for sure. Didn't even mention Riley Herbst, who has had some pretty solid runs at super speedways in far worse equipment.
Yeah, Donald in the chat saying long shot 34. Dude, I like the 34. And like, Elliot, that every time, like pretty much I would say almost like last 4 times we've come here at Talladega, I usually have Todd Gilliland on my card. And like, the books have caught up with him. Like he's 44-1 the longest at FanDuel. Like that's a fine price with him. I like Todd Gilliland. He was ranked pretty high in the projections this week too. Donald, I think he came in right around 13th. So
he did have an asterisk mark run last fall. He got to put a lap down. I forget what happened, but it was them all trying to pass him that started that big one. He was getting lapped.
I would love like a Todd Gilliland to lead a lap or Todd Gilliland to lead like 2 laps. Like I think he'll be fast, but I just think the books have caught up with him. Like I remember we were hitting some Todd Gilliland like 4-1 top 10s, and I think like what's the best you can find Todd Gilliland top 10 for right now? Like it's not good.
Probably not great.
Plus 185. Like it's just too short.
Yeah.
It's too short for what Todd's been bringing lately. This is one of his best tracks, and he very much could win though, Donald. He could win. I just need a better number on him. That's all.
Yeah. Then again, could win. You could say that about just about anybody in the field as we crack open our placement props here. You could have a lot of guys run up front. Before I get to my random top 5, I'll give you the more educated one first. Brad Keselowski to run top 5.
What a graphic there, my friend.
Yeah, we went wild and wacky in party time for Talladega. It's not the last one. I think I'm going with the top 5 rather than the outright because I think he comes up short again. He ran second both times last year. I think he's going to be around the front. I think he's going to be a player in this race. I just don't think he's the guy who gets the victory lane. Still searching for his first top 10 in 2025. It just hasn't been the best season for him. And I know he's still good at super speedways, and they'll really try for it, just like some other guys here. They'll really know that they have to go for it here to get themselves in that playoff conversation. And RFK has generally been solid at the super speedways, eight top 10s at super speedways. And that's just since Brad has moved to RFK. And like I said, runner-up both of the Talladega races last year. A guy that can run up front, I just think he is not going to have the 4-leaf clover behind him and be the one to win it this time.
I'm pretty sure Brad is like, well, he has a Nike ton of wins here too. At the same time, he has a ton of runner-ups, man. So It definitely makes sense from a career arc standpoint. The one thing I'll say against it and why I couldn't get any Brad on my card and really haven't all season is like he just has no speed, dude. Like his average running position at Atlanta, bottom 12. His average running position, the Daytona 500, bottom 14. Like, that's not Brad, dude. That's like, he's just had no speed. And I don't get it because Priest has had speed, Buescher's had speed, but the next gen average finishes there, right? Like your top 7 in that metric. So you're definitely there with like his runs at Talladega. He was fast there in the spring, not as fast in the fall. So I just have a mixed bag on Brad, but I understand the play here because the guy seems to love getting second at Talladega as much as he loves winning it.
Yeah, and we talked about it. You don't have to qualify well. You don't have to run that well most of the day to get up there. So that could be his way too, is take advantage of not having speed, stay out of the wrecks, and come home at the end. As I was shuffling my deck around here for the random top 5.
So I also have to flame you for
this
because we also have the hat pick on every episode of the 19th hole, our PGA betting show. So we are kind of stealing this from I mean, we're stealing within IBT. So it is an IBT
right.
thing, but you did not shout out the 19th hole. So
I apologize to Connor and Bo. They are both brilliant over there.
I
don't catch that show as often as I should because betting golf is not something that I'm allowed to do. But shout out to them for it. And we're going with 3 hat picks here tonight. So yeah, it's not stealing if it's intellectual property of our own. But all right, I've got my random top 5. All right, so I've got 2 stuck together here because I did this on Post-it notes, and they both are super long shots as well. So I'm doing a great job of really not fucking myself over here, but sort of. The 2 numbers I picked were the 62 of Alfredo and the 88 of Shane Van Gisbergen. And so my argument here is Talladega is the great equalizer. We've seen the Beard car run up front, Brendan Gaughan back in the day, 2019. The race was rain delayed to a Monday. He was getting the run. Cool. He was running up front, front row. Kyle Busch gets turned into the 62. He does that flip right over everybody. Has the great interview after. He says, "Mother, I'm okay. It's just a flip. I don't have anything up top to hurt anyway." And Alfredo's a guy. He's got the restrictor plate prowess a little bit, with super speedway prowess.
Finished 6th in this race last year. Alfredo did.
Yeah. So in terms of the odds for both of these guys, you're way down at the bottom. For Alfredo is even in the books, plus 1,900 for a top 5 on FanDuel. SVG plus 1,300. For him, it's always a learning experience with SVG, right? And anywhere other than the road courses, it's about learning. He did run quite a few super speedways last year and was just kind of mixing it up in the pack. We'll see what can you do here, what can you do there, lead some laps. I think he might have run fastest laps at some points in those races. It's just one of those. Can he get too aggressive? I think in the Daytona 500. Helped cause a crash or involve himself in a crash because of him getting too aggressive and making moves he probably shouldn't and ended up costing some stuff. So I think I almost like Alfredo more than I do SVG for the top 5. But I tell you what, for my hat pick random top 10, I hope I get somebody I can make a better argument for than pulling at straws and saying anybody can do anything at Talladega.
I just kind of like Alfredo too. Like he's actually 8th in the Talladega next gen average finishes. And even SVG this is one of his better tracks too. Like both in the Xfinity series, he has a top 10 here, and he is an absolute dog crap when it comes to Talladega as far as super speedways for Cup too. He's ran it a few times now, so you could have worse. I would feel better top 10, but yeah, you could have worse top fives there.
For the top 10, I'll pull like Blaney. Just watch.
Well, you could also have this Cole Custer top 10 that is not random that you are willingly betting on. So explain yourself.
Yeah,
Explain yourself.
I am willingly betting it here, and this is not a pick where it's because of the stats. His stats are not any good at super speedways, but this team, arguably more than anyone else in the garage, they need to throw that damn Hail Mary, and they need too fast. We thought that it was going to be a slight step back from the Stewart Haas. It has been a ginormous step back. They are 35th in the standings. The 41 is not finished in the top 20 this year.
Behind SVG, behind Herbst.
Yeah, Custer 2 at super speedways in the Cup Series, just 2 top 10s. And that's at all 3 combined, Daytona, Atlanta, and Talladega. They need to take a shot. And at the Daytona 500, they took a shot, and they were running up front. They were in that middle lane, running up front when that last lap crash happened.
We need it.
They were close.
We need it.
And I think, again, that has to be their play, right, is to just, as much as you want guys to stay out of trouble, they need to learn if their car can run up front. And if it can, they've got to put themselves in the mix. They've got to do everything they can to give themselves a chance at a win, because it is Cole Custer's only shot at a playoff berth and his only shot at you having even the slightest amount of cash out on that championship bet you made in the offseason. Because we've seen, you never know if there's maybe some hope at this track or that track.
Yeah.
Maybe I guess we haven't gotten a New Hampshire yet. SHR was always weirdly fast.
Yeah.
For some reason. But Haas factory team just has been a complete shell of itself. And they're bottom feeders at this point where they need to run well at the super speedways. Again, I have it for the top 10. I don't have it for the outright, at least not here. But
I just say bet the damn outright, Elliot, because honestly, this isn't a guy who's going to settle for second. He showed us that in the Daytona 500. Like, it's all or nothing with Mr. Colonel Custer. So I think you got to go all the way in if you're going in.
Part of the thought process here is they're going to take the swing, but maybe it doesn't work. Maybe they make a bad move with 5 to go, and he's kind of mid-pack, running 15th on the last lap. You pass a couple of guys that crash out, maybe you get that top 10. So that's almost like a hedge in a weird way.
Yeah.
To where it's like, okay, you're going to look at Custer, but then you don't think he's going to do very well, but maybe he can be one of those guys where it's like, oh shit, Cole Custer finished 9th.
Yeah. Fair. Also, you got a random top 10 here as well. You're going to throw out. What do you got for the?
Let's go ahead and pull the random. I know it's going to be somebody that's like very obvious and like a minus 400. I bet you. All right. Random top 10, Kyle Busch. All right, so there's one that we can at least talk about a little bit. It won't be. I'm
going to talk about Kyle Busch soon.
Yeah, it won't be the last time we talk about Kyle Busch, so I won't wax too poetic about him. His top 10 odds are
plus 105. Plus 105 at DraftKings or at BetRivers. It's honestly not a bad number compared to he's minus 2. FanDuel and DraftKings this week. Minus 250 for a top 10 on a super speedway. I don't care if I don't care if the Pope himself is out there cruising in the. Sorry.
Yeah, that wouldn't run very well this week, Seth.
Sorry, but I don't care. I don't care. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is out there ripping. I'm not betting him minus 250 for a top 10.
No, that's an impossible number to bet at a super speedway. Plus 105, though. I already kind of made the case for Kyle Busch and the Asterisk Mark driver that he's one of those guys. He's been there. He's done that. He's the series veteran now. If he can just get one of these damn kids to go with him and take the run and make it to the front at the end of the race, then go for it. In the Clash in 2017, I don't remember who won that race, but the point was that Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman ran second and third. And there's a viral Kyle Busch radio clip that when you hear him bitching about everybody, he bitches about a young Bowman at the time, getting the opportunity for Dale Jr. in the Clash. And Bowman went to try to pass him and get second place instead of go with Kyle Busch. And his quote was, "If you pass me, you eliminate your entire shot to win. But if you go with me, we can both get up there and pass the son of a bitch, and then maybe you pass me for the win instead of going by me for second place, and then neither of us are able to get the win anyway." And especially in a race like the Clash, it doesn't matter. And almost in a race like Talladega, where you've got just, especially this early in the year, heaps of drivers who are like, oh shit, this is my chance to win and get in the playoffs. They got to go with guys like Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch knows when the time is to make the move. Very rarely does he screw stuff like that up. People have to realize, these kids have to realize, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. If he's going to go up and make a third lane, maybe now is the time for me to go up there, go with him, And of course, the last lap is maybe one thing. You do it 3-4 laps to
Sure.
go is enough time to build momentum. So if you do it with 3 to go, Kyle Busch moves up, and then Stenhouse moves up, and then this guy moves up, and that guy moves up. Then you're in the lead. You 4, 5, 6, 7 cars. If you're in the lead and right up there with who was running up front at the last lap, and you got a shot.
I like Kyle Busch. I got nothing other than
Yeah.
Blaze Wolf laughing at the random picks. Hey, this is Dega, baby. This is Dega. I guarantee Elliot's random picks will probably be better than any of the other bets we put out.
Man, I thought they'd be more interesting. We went three of the bottom 7 in the field, and then a guy that we both like to win the race for the top 10. But hey, random pick. Shout out Connor and Bo in the 19th hole. Shout out the Discord for giving me that idea. Shout out Rod for the wheel picks too. I'll have to bring it back for the super speedways later in the year.
Well, let's see how they do. Let's see how they do before we promise anything, Elliot. Next bet here, staying in the placement prop market. I'm going Erik Jones, top Toyota, 12-1 at DraftKings, 0.3 of a unit. I'm also going John Hunter Nemechek, top Toyota, 20-1 at DraftKings, 0.3 of a unit. Legacy has had a car finish top 10 at super speedways in the past 3 super speedways, but like the odds are just too short to bet on top, like for the top 10, in my opinion. I think you're just like fooling yourself if you're trying to mess around with that market right now. So, but in a manufacturer that only has 8 cars, it feels great to get a 12-1 on Erik Jones and a 20-1 on John Hunter Nemechek. Starting with Erik Jones, he should have won the Daytona Dole this year, like realistically, and also. In 4 of the 6 next gen Dega races, this guy's been top 6. He's had really good runs here, man. 4 of those runs in legacy equipment, 2 in Richard Petty equipment. But either way, he's also number 4 in Dega next gen average finish at 14 flat and 10th in the total speed rankings in that span as well. So Erik Jones, good at Dega. I was actually considering maybe a little long shot outright for him, but I'd be very happy to just hit a top Toyota on him as well. And JHN has been top 10 at both the Daytona and Atlanta race this season, and 50% career top 10 rate here at Talladega. I will say those runs did come in 2020 before the next gen car was introduced, but JHN, Erik Jones, both guys who've been able to get it done on super speedways, kind of like your Cole Custer, like bets, like this is their only shot. And instead of getting I think the JHN top 10 was right around plus 380. I think you're looking at, under 2-1 for Erik Jones. Give me a 12-1. Give me a 20-1, because then I only put 0.3 of a unit down, and I'm still walking away with 4, maybe 6 units profit if JHN hits here. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, the only trouble with this, and this doesn't matter when you get to the end of the race because things shuffle around so much, but when you have the manufacturer lines, okay, here's all the Chevys are going to pit, and they're going to run in this line. All the Fords are going to run in this line. The JHN and Erik Jones are not going to be at the front of those Toyota lines. It's going to be Hamlin, or it's going to be Wallace, or it's going to be Chris Bell.
Well, the good thing too is
the 42 or 43 at the front of those lines.
Good thing too is though, like if it happens like Daytona did, most of those guys got taken out, and then
So that's what I mean. It's for the bulk of the race. It's not going to seem like a very good bet, because I even thought about Riley Herbst for top Toyota as well. I think I bet it at Daytona, didn't work out. That same sort of deal. Yeah, it's like, okay, these guys can get frisky, but they almost need it to work out in their favor at the end, because if it's a situation,
you're hoping for a shit show. You
need those crashes the last 5 laps. You need to miss them, and you need to have Hamlin and Bell and Wallace all get taken out, and you guys make it through there, or just hope the whole Toyota line gets screwed and you happen to have the least amount of damage and are able to get back out there. Something like that. That's not to say that they won't, but it generally seems like in those sort of situations, it's not just anybody that's running at the front of those manufacturer lines. They orchestrate it, so it's okay. The top 2 guys have their shit together. And then you throw everyone else kind of in behind them.
So as we noted, no matchups, no groups for us on the card this week. It's just really hard to get invested with those here at a super speedway. We're already trying to roll back the card. Like, I don't know about you, Elliot, but I'm about right around like 40% of what I'm usually invested in by this time during the week. So definitely a lighter.
I'm not even that high. So
yeah. So lighter week for me. I probably don't see myself adding anything post P's and Q's. But you do have a couple specials here. We'll start with you with a winning car number, taking a little bit of a page out of Rodney's book.
Yeah, this is just basic math to me. A winning number over 22.5 plus 185 on Caesars. The longest number that we had, I mean, at least in terms of this much, I think it was like 8 to 14 is a little longer. But you get about half the field here. You get what I called, you get 19 possible winners and then you get the 44 and the 78, who I'm not including them in possible winners. But hey, especially with BJ, you never know. He's run up front here. But 19 possible winners. That includes some heavy hitters. The 23, the 24, who we both shouted out in the outrights. The 47 and the 45, who won these races last year. The 48, Bowman has one DNF in 19 next-gen superspeedway races, which is the best mark in the series. And then you got plenty of reasonable underdogs. The 34, we just talked about him. The 35, the 43, and the 42, potential underdogs too. Zane Smith in the 38, why not? Ty Gibbs, Ryan Preece, the Spire boys, the 71 and the 77. We know Hocevar can get frisky, and McDowell knows what he's doing at the super speedways. For a number this big to get about half the field, it's good plus money for a race like this, even if you're missing a couple of the really super heavy hitters like Blaney or Kyle Larson or Chase Elliott. You're missing out on those guys, or Cindric, like we talked about, or even a Logano. Of course, it's right at the Logano point. So you're missing out on Penske. You're missing out on some other Hendrick heavy hitters. But this is enough here that for the math and for the chaos of Talladega, I like this number a lot.
Yeah, actually, like when I first saw this bet, I was kind of scratching my head at it because like you're missing out on Cindric. You're missing out on Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney. Like those are the four guys that scare me the most when it comes to this bet. However, you are still, if you look at our projections, you get 5 of the top 10 at a plus 185. That's not a bet. Yeah, honestly, this is a good number, Ellie. I actually like this number. Like a lot of times when I'm betting these number bets, they're like super juiced. I'm betting the minus 160s, the minus 140s, because I'm taking like the guys I really, really, truly think I can win. But here, if you're taking 50% of my top 10 in the projections, it tells me it should be closer to even money, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the odd versus even at Darlington, I don't think we ever hashed that out. But if it weren't for that caution that took it from Blaney, I had the even side of that. Hamlin getting the win. It was good outright for me, but then the odd number wins. But Larson, 160 laps down, had to be out there. I don't know if you I brought it up with Rod. If you can't gain any more positions in the last X% of a race, you shouldn't be out there. I like that rule, and that should be something that they, we'll talk about rules and other things that have come up in the coming weeks with the All-Star race and stuff. But anyway, back on to Kyle Busch here for a bet that I like better than the top 10, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, this one to me, I love laps led bets. They are so freaking fun because you can cash them. You're done. You're mid-race. The sweat's over. You can go on with your life. It's like when you bet a head-to-head and the guy you're going up against wrecks out. It's beautiful. And I looked at a couple of these Caesars throughout. They had one of Chris Buescher. I looked at long and hard, about 4.5. But Kyle Busch is actually the lowest number that they're offering this weekend at 3.5 laps led. The over-under, it's a pick 'em minus 115 apart. I went 2 units on the over. Kyle Busch has led an average of 3.7 laps per race in the 6 next-gen Talladega races with a low of 2 laps led. He was 2 for 2 hitting this number last year at Dega and 6 for 6 at all super speedways. So he cashed this bet for you all 6 times last year. This year, he's 1 for 1. He led 13 laps at Atlanta. That's great. And he was in contention most of the day at Daytona. He just never got up there to lead a lap. We know passing was super hard that day. And Talladega being a little bit wider, I think he can use that to his advantage to get out to one of these, third, fourth lanes and get up there. 3.5 laps feels very obtainable for Kyle Busch. This is my favorite bet of the weekend. This is my only bet that I even have more than I guess I have an Xfinity bet this is my only Cup Series bet that I have more than a unit on. So Kyle Busch over 3.5 laps. Favorite bet of the weekend. Let's ride, Elliot.
Yeah, like you said, more room to pass at Talladega will certainly help him out. Being willing to make the moves will help him out, and experience at the front of these lines. I agree with you. It seems like every time at Talladega, you're mid-race, and it's like, oh, Kyle Busch is roaring to the front and is out there leading laps. I didn't realize he hit that at every super speedway last year. That makes me feel really good, too.
You have to admit, like, after hearing that, like, if you want one bet that should cash this weekend, this really feels this feels really good. Like, not trying to toot when I saw this, I was, let's go, baby.
Hey, you put hard-earned American currency on it. That's enough of you toot your own horn all you want. You bet it,
And it was just 420, so 3 chai. If they're on the car, I mean, they're ready to go, baby. They just had a great week.
It's not 3 chi, but it's nicotine pouches again for Kyle Busch on the car.
Okay. I've never had. Have you ever ran the zones? I've never ran the zones before.
I haven't, but people like the zones. People like the Zins. People like any of them. So
yeah,
there's got to be something fun there,
listen, we're complete. Like, I'm not above a nicotine sponsorship on this program. I am an Ons guy personally. Twos, mint flavor, not really into the wintergreen or any of that weird stuff. But Zones, if you're out there, if we got any Zones executives, any people in that Zones family that can maybe connect with somebody, very much open. Like, I'm a free agent when it comes to nicotine. Like fuck the Ons, man. I'm good, baby. I'm good. Let's go. Let's go, Zone.
Let's get in the zone here. Why not?
Speaking of
on the back road.
Speaking of in the zone on the back road, Elliot, what do you say we get in the zone and round out the program here with some Xfinity Series bets as well, my friend?
Yeah, I've got 2 placement props, so I'll start with mine because you've got a placement prop looped into yours too. I'm going Brennan Poole for a top 5. Best number is at plus 1,200 on Bet365. It's lower on other books too, especially with Xfinity. Bet365, if it's available in your state, is the best spot for Xfinity numbers. You're going to get way more bang for your buck. It's safe to say that Alpha Prime Racing is going to play a role at the end of this race. They came close to winning it last year. They came close to winning it last week. I mean, both Poole and Parker Retzlaff were in the top 5 last week. I think there's more upside for Retzlaff, but that means there's more bust potential for him too, and there's worse numbers on the books. So Brennan Poole, like I said, an outright's tough for a team like Alpha Prime, but they usually have guys survive the chaos, put themselves in the right spots, and Brennan Poole especially. Back when he was running for Ganassi in the Xfinity Series, he should have won a race here in 2016. But I forget if it was the caution came out earlier or something happened where Elliott Sadler was determined to be the winner of the race, and Poole ended up finishing 3rd. Since returning to Xfinity, of course, he ran just about a full year in Cup with Rick Ware back in, I think it was 2020. Since returning to Xfinity full-time, 2 P5s and a P9 for Brennan Poole, a 12.3 average finish for his career on this track. Dega, the best stats of just about any track for Brennan Poole. And this season, he's already got 2 top 5s at way harder tracks to do it on. Did it at Rockingham with a P4 and did it at Martinsville with a P4. And that was getting through some chaos to do it, which he'll have to do at Talladega.
Yeah, I actually looked at Brennan Poole for a top 10 line. I haven't seen ESPN Bet rip any top 10 lines out. Yeah, I know 365 had some. So I was going to wait and sit and see what ESPN let, because I think the top 10 for him was like right around like a plus 325, something like that. But Brennan Poole, dude, like these stats are crazy. I mean, you threw them out, dude. Like they're really good at Talladega. He's 18th right now in the points, one of the better positions he's been in. And last year in this very race, Elliot, he almost won this son of a bitch, if you remember, because this was one Haley Deegan was on like the outside row. Riley Herbst was in the mix, let her fall back. And Brennan Poole was out there potentially looking for a W on that last lap, and Jesse Love passed him. So top 5, top 10, whatever way you want to cut it here, Brennan Poole on the card. I don't hate it at 12-1 for the top 5 specifically. I think that's a good look from you. I appreciate that one.
Yeah, and like I said, Alpha Prime is going to be a part of it. Like, keep an eye on Retzlaff, keep an eye on whoever's in the 45 car. Usually it's Mason Massey or somebody like that. But I'm going top 5 and top 10, and that's because there's only 2 guys. Well, okay, we'll go with my top 10 here. I was going to say I'm out on the outrights because there's only 2 guys that can win this race, and you'll talk about one of them. But Jeffrey Earnhardt back in the number 24 for Sam Hunt Racing. He's run Talladega a lot with a couple of different teams the last few years. And I don't want to go against the Earnhardt at Talladega, man. I mean, he's a spitting image of his grandfather there, Dale Earnhardt. It's tough to go against an Earnhardt in a super speedway, especially when he's in decent equipment. He's run the JD Motorsports and the Alpha Prime years ago when they weren't to where they were now, Martin's Motorsports or whatever. When he's in good equipment, Richard Schroeder's racing in that 3-car. Larry Mack was his crew chief, ran P2 in spring of 2022. Ran the spring Atlanta last year, was P8. He had mechanical issues in his last 2 starts, one with Alpha Prime 2 years ago, year and a half ago, whatever, and then with Sam Hunt as well, had mechanical issues that took him out before he could even really get started, not even getting involved in a crash, but just shit going wrong with the car. Sam Hunt Racing is at a point, just like Alpha Prime, where that's not really happening anymore. We're seeing Dean Thompson get consistent finishes, seeing guys like Corey Heim. I think Patrick Staropoli was in this car and had a pretty good run at Martinsville a couple of weeks ago. It's a car that can contend and can get out there and can at the very least not break on the guy before he gets to the end of the race and has a shot. A guy that, of course, he's been around the ringer. He's not been able to make it work in the same way that his relatives are with that Earnhardt name, but he does still have that Talladega and that super speedway prowess in his blood and in his skill set. Plus 320 for a top 10. Pretty good number for me considering how the rest of the books look.
Let's go, Jeff. Let's go, Jeffrey. I'm rooting for this kid. And I like the handicap as well, man. Like, these are like, if you're getting Xfinity top 10s at super speedways, this is like, these are the shots you have to take. So like, once I see ESPN bets, again, if you guys are in the Discord, I'll certainly probably have one or two more of those long shots coming later this week. But yeah, that's the play this week. We almost hit on like a 7-1 Haley Deegan last year, and it was like, oh, well, I should have been on the Brennan Poole too. But as you mentioned, for me this weekend, I'm all about love, baby. I'm all about that Jesse Love. I'm going with the Jesse Love top 5 minus 105 at Caesars. I'm going 2 units down on that. And I'll also be playing the Jesse Love outright 7-1. That is coming from FanDuel. I'm seeing a lot of like plus 550. I'm seeing a lot of plus 650, those shorter numbers, but 7-1 feels pretty good for me. RCR Xfinity cars like are absolutely juiced at super speedways. Like this feels like the Roy days of baseball, man. Like, I mean, my goodness, like it's uncanny, dude. It really like, it feels like you're like F1 fuckery betting, because like they just have such an advantage. It's unreal. The books are admitting that once again by making them the favorites. However, Big Country kind of sucks at Dega compared to his teammate Jesse Love. Hasn't had the finishes here, has led laps, has never really got great finishes at Dega. And I think there's also nobody more motivated in any series, whether that's ARCA, whether that's Cup, whether that's Xfinity, to come out here and get a win here at Talladega, his best track, than Jesse Love, who had a win stripped away from him after taking that trophy, after taking that trip to Victory Lane. You can't even drink an ice cold beer down there in Victory Lane either. So, I mean, if there's someone pissed off coming into this week down in Talladega, it's Jesse Love. He has started front row in 7 of 8 Super Speedway Xfinity Series starts. He has 2 wins in 8 of those. Could have had another in the spring 2024 Atlanta race that became a shit show at the end with fuel mileage playing a factor. Average finish of 3.5 at Talladega specifically. Top 3 in stage points earned in 3 of 4 stages. Led 28 laps in each race last season. Won the spring. Finished 6th in the fall. But he had some pit road issues that day that put him back. He had to make up that. So give me Jesse Love minus 105. That's a great number, Elliot, when you consider it's like minus 155, minus 160 at other places. Minus 105 at Caesars, I couldn't believe it because they usually have terrible Xfinity odds. So I'm all the way in on Jesse Love this week. Both the placement, both the outright market. Come along with me for the ride, please.
Yeah, man, even at the minus 155 or whatever for a top 5, and certainly at a 7-1 outright, I'm on board with RCR here in the Xfinity series. Those almost feel like generous numbers to me, because it's any and every time that I've tried to be proven wrong that RCR is not going to win at the super speedways.
Yep.
It happens. It's inevitable. You had, I think it was Atlanta, you bet on Austin Hill like fucking 3-1 outright, and I was like, you're insane. And then of course
minus 120, like top 3 or something crazy. Yeah.
At Daytona, Austin Hill running out front, has a mechanical issue. Finally, someone other than Austin Hill is going to win this race. Jesse Love wins the race. RCR is inevitable. I have fully accepted our new Xfinity Super Speedway overlords, and I'm on board. I'll have to get on board here with these numbers because, like I said, for Austin Hill, it's a super deep number again. I think somewhere in that 3-1, 3.5-1.
He's not bettable because he doesn't have the track record at Talladega that he does at Daytona or
I don't even think that matters. I mean, obviously, I'm going Love over Hill here.
Bet Austin Hill. You can bet them both, honestly.
That's the best way to do it. You only drink the juice if you lose. You're going to win some money from him because unless hell freezes over, it's going to be one of these two guys winning this race. I mean, obviously, and that's why I didn't touch an outright for the show, because it's going to be one of the RCR guys. I just haven't thrown the coin down.
Come with me, baby. Come with me, Elliot. Let's go. Let's ride. Full squad ride.
Put me on Big Country.
All right, man. Well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Again, sorry we were a little bit earlier this week. If you guys missed any of the episode, you can go back and watch the rest of it. We'll have it chaptered up by the morning as well. But thank you to everyone who did ride with us. We were very, very gracious for it. Easiest way you can support Elliot and myself, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Also, subscribe to the channel. We got a ton of betting content for you, whether in the NFL, college football, PGA, NASCAR, all 3 series. We have a little F1 fuckery going on here and there as well. And, of course, some entertainment betting. Elliot, tell them what else we have going over in the NASCAR department right now of the website.
Yeah, man, a little bit of everything. Like we said, you can get a little preview of that betting model that if you're not in the IBT Racing Family Discord, which I mean, you should be $3.99 a month. Give us a try. Instead of throwing
It's
keep
fun.
Keep a unit back from that Austin Hill top 5 and join the IBT Racing family. Entry into our memorabilia giveaways. Our next one's coming soon. Get the conversation with us. You get our extra bets. Like we said, the show ends on a Thursday evening, but there's still so much in the weekend that happens that you're able to keep up on and discuss with us on the IBT Racing family. And again, shout out to those of you listening on the audio, or if you're on video, however you take us in, we appreciate it. And we always appreciate you taking a ride down the back road with us. Bob Bodner, our pal too. Grateful he thinks it's the best. We hope you enjoy as well. And we hope you enjoy the weekend at Talladega.